Hello everyone, welcome to episode 9 of Pokemon Yellow. In the last part, we got up here to Sabrina, and now it's time to fight her. And I will say, this is probably the hardest gym fight in the game if you're not prepared for it, because, as I've mentioned many times before, psychic types are overpowered. Luckily in this, her team isn't as bad, even though I forget what her team was in Red, Blue, Green. Her team is just Abracadabra and Alakazam. It's not that hard. In fact, the Abra only really knows Flash, maybe Teleport, because I think... Does it know Teleport? I don't really know the movesets. There's only one Ghastly... that one Ghastly book. There's only one Pokemon I've ever memorized the moveset for, and that was Agatha's in Fire Red Leaf Green. One of her what's the... Gengars. And I'd rather not talk about that, because I think I'm gonna end up fighting it down the road. Anyway, to show superiority, I decided to show how much better my Kadabra is than hers. Even though it's 9 levels higher, I'm still faster than it. That's because of the entire individual values, I think it's called. Apparently, depending on what Pokemon you fight with any given Pokemon, it will become better. Because of reasons. I think every single one that boosts a certain stat. I'm not sure. I love Pokemon, but I'm not that much of a nerd with it. I just know the weakness chart. And some useless trivia that I'd rather not mention. Flawless victory. Sabrina, take that. But sadly, it's not over yet. She has her best Pokemon for last. Alakazam. I hate this Alakazam. See, I was trying to do this with special attacks, and as I mentioned before, the special stat is the special attack and defense that would be in Gen 2 onwards. Because of that, their psychics are much more powerful in Gen 1 than they ever were. Apparently, it has something to do with the coding. But because the special is one stat, that means it's ridiculous, pretty much. But thankfully, since Matt's gonna sadly go down here, that also means that their physical defense is absolute crap. And since Slash has an obscene critical hit rate as it is, boom. In fact, I think Gen 1 is definitely the game where critical hits are the most common. Because the critical hit rate, as I mentioned before, is really wonky for some reason. '92 experience. Didn't this game come out in '92? No. Wait, I'm thinking of something else. This game came out in '97. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of a Dragon Quest game or something? And we got the... I forget what the... I think this is the Mars badge? I forget. Psywave, I was thinking about teaching Matt right here, but it already has Psychic and Confusion, in my opinion, the best two moves in the game for it. So I just decided not to. But as you can see, Tom can learn it. Since Tom, who is a Snorlax, is a normal type, he can pretty much learn every type of move in the game. I still want to make an Eevee who has Flamethrower, Water Gun, Thunderbolt, and Razor Leaf. That would be amazing type coverage. Anyway, now that we got the gym badge, we're pretty much done here in Saffron's area. There's a small little side quest you could do, but I'm not going to. It's, well, you remember that copycat girl from Gen 2? You pretty much get her the doll. And now we're suddenly back in Viridian City. I used Pat to fly here off screen. And to run our way to Cinnabar's Island, actually. Cinnabar City? Or Cinnabar... Is it Cinnabar City or Island? I always forget this. But there are two ways you can get to it. One is to go going south through Fuchsia City, which I'll show off that route at some point, because I will be hunting for the legendaries, and I already got the Ultra Balls for it. But to get to the other way is south from Palatown. Since we were here, I decided to check out how good my Pokedex is coming. 104 out of 150 seen. We should see them all but then again, the most we would ever be able to see is 150. And there's 151 coded. God dang it. And even though, yet again, they're originally supposed to be 190. Which is why Donphan Meryl, one other Pokemon, and Snubbull were ready for the first 2 movies. Then again, by the second movie's release, Gen 2 was out. Anyway, I looked towards that patch of grass there. What you can see there, that's the only place in the game that I know of that you can catch Tangela. Although I think you can also catch it in the Safari Zone in this version, I'm not too sure. I don't go to the Safari Zone often, and yeah, I always got paranoid here for some reason, because I always thought that I was just going nowhere, because it's the same sprites everywhere. But luckily we are. Hello, Cinnabar Island, and actually, this place is home to a very famous glitch, missing though, but I don't know how to do it. Why? Because the only glitch I ever do in Pokemon is the Mew glitch. Anyway, after stopping there, I decided to show this off. I think I was getting distracted, that's why I stopped. This little laboratory here is where you can revive those fossils that you got earlier. There was another fossil you could get, the Amber, which has Aerodactyl, which was actually fairly useful. I'm not sure why I'm not showing that off. But, and I do get the Ep.9 off screen, but, this is where you give the fossil to that guy, leave the building, come back in, he'll have the Pokemon ready for you. But anyway, if you try and investigate this door, it is locked. We have to go through a side dungeon to do this, Jim, which we need to finish the game. And this is the dungeon right here, Pokemon Mansion. And good God, the floor of this place really hurts my eyes. All those red blocks. Anyway, those statues there are actually supposed to be statues of a Pokemon we'll be seeing in the final part. But, I might as well say it's Mewtwo, but they don't really show that off well in the 8-bit. It just looks like Rhyhorn. Or is that Rhydon? They show it off better in the remakes, though. Anyway, fall down this hole. I'm showing off the quickest route. I got all the items off screen. Don't fight these guys if you want to. I do, but it's weird. Also, upon picking up this item, I had a random battle right there just by standing. That is weird. And we're on the final floor, although I think this is where the exit was in the remake. For some reason you can't step onto the block above the statue. It must have bigger coding than the sprite. TM14, which is Blizzard. I remember getting this for my Vaporeon on Gen 2. I'm teaching this to Fallon immediately because, well, one of the Elite Four is a Dragon-type user, and Ice is very effective against Dragon. I'll leave you to guess who it is. Then again, there's not many Dragon-type users in the series, so it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Anyway, investigate that this room's also a bit of a puzzle. You have to investigate that statue, press the button, head up this little corridor here, fight this guy if you want, and the poison's no longer there. Activate this statue ahead of time, because the secret key that we need is in here, and I actually realized I have to put that in the PC. But then again, actually, one thing I've been doing throughout the parts is putting any TMs or such that I find in the PC, in the Red's PC, which is an item storage system. I've run out of space, so I'm either gonna have to sell a lot of TMs or something. Then again, I also filled up the first PC box, which I rarely ever do in these games. And we got Solar Beam, which is a very useful TM that I'd like to use right now because it's actually a fairly powerful grass-type move. Only the downside is that it has to charge up to a turn before you can use it. And here's the key. And with that, we're really done here in the mansion. I was thinking about doing some grinding here, because we are actually kind of under-leveled for this point. But I decided to leave the grinding before the Elite Four. But not until after the legendary hunting. That's gonna take a while. Actually, I'll have one legendary by the time I already reach the Elite Four, so... Anyway, press that switch again, get out here, and we are out of there forever. Now, there's actually a good Pokemon you can catch in there, a Growlithe, who's actually a very good Fire type. But, I already have a Fire type. Considering this is the team I always use for this, although every now and then I will experiment and use a Kadabra instead of a Kadabra instead of a Kadabra. Hypno instead of a Kadabra, but that's rare. But anyway, here we are at the 7th gym, which is the quiz gym. You have to take the quiz if you want to meet Blaine, the gym leader. I didn't know you could actually fight them after getting the right answer, so I just got all the answers wrong intentionally. But considering I used a water type, it was no problem anyway. Caterpie does evolve into Butterfree, which is kind of wrong in itself, because it evolves into Metapod, then Butterfree. There's actually only really one you have an excuse to get wrong in here if you were paying attention throughout the game. And that's, like, the second to last one. For some reason it's the one on the left instead of the one on the right. There are 9 certified Pokemon badges. Nope. There are 8. This is a Fire-type gym, by the way, so if you have a Water type, it should be no problem. Poliwag evolves 3 times. That is false. Technically it has 4 forms now, but it only evolves twice. Although Politoed is pretty good. So. Thunder moves are effective against ground type. No, they do not affect them whatsoever. Now this is the only one I can see people getting wrong a lot if they don't know about IVs and EVs. Pokemon in the same type and level are not identical. They are not identical. Because of effort put into them, and plus, depends on what level you caught them, because Pokemon you catch at lower levels are better than that same Pokemon you might meet at a higher level, because of affection values and such. I got that one wrong on accident, but then I realized you could fight them just by talking to them, which kinda made me facepalm. Anyway, Blaine here has a sprite that's completely different than his battle sprite, because he has hair there for one thing, and he doesn't have hair whatsoever here. Yeah, it's kinda hard to tell what his head is in that sprite, isn't it? Anyway, starts off with the Ninetales. Not too troublesome, especially when you have a water type that knows Surf. Or Hydro Pump, which I learned off screen. Then again, from what I know, I'm actually getting pretty close to my endgame level. I think I want to be level 60, maybe 70 by the time I beat the game. It's a bit of grinding, but I like being at safe levels. And actually, I think I mentioned this in part 1, but there... By the way, Rapidash's sprite there is terrible. But there was supposed to be a red-like super boss in this game, like how Red was the super boss of Gen 2. It was supposed to be against Professor Oak. He would use the starter you didn't choose and a couple other really high-level Pokemon, but it's only hack accessible because it is still in the coding. There's no trigger for it. Anyway, we have Arcanine here. Fun fact about Arcanine, he was supposed to be a legendary Pokemon. But he's not. He's just his subtitle is just the legendary Pokemon now. Why? I'm not sure, but I do gotta say, I love his design. Not sure. You know, he's a dog, even though he's a dog, even though he looks a bit like a tiger. Kind of paradoxical, but alright. And by the way, I think I mentioned this already, but level grinding is kind of a pain because random battles don't give you nearly as much experience as trainer battles do. I'm not sure why. TM38, Fire Blast, teaching that to Abe immediately. And replacing Rage too, was it Rage or Outrage I had on him? I think it's Rage. Fire Blast is the best fire-type move in Gen 1. Blast Burn wasn't implemented yet, so this is the most powerful one we're gonna get. And good God, is it powerful. Too bad its accuracy is kind of blech. Actually, speaking of Abe, and by that I mean Charizard, why isn't he Fire Dragon type? He's Fire Flying, but why isn't he Fire Dragon? That makes no sense. I mean, he's a freaking dragon. Ah. Anyway, I actually had to get all the way back to Viridian City off-screen, so teleportation powers activate. And believe it or not, Viridian City here, right at the beginning of the game, is where the final gym is. You couldn't access it until you beat all other gyms and defeated Team Rocket. Why? Event triggers, that's why. Plus, he would be kind of hard to... he'd pretty much be impossible to defeat otherwise. But anyway, I'm going to have to end things off here. Thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you guys next time on Pokemon Yellow, where we take on the Viridian Gym and get the 8th badge. See you guys then. And I know I'm 87 hours in. Fast forward feature. It does that a lot.